Hey everyone, this is my 2013 Sportsmobile RV built on a Ford E350 chassis. It's been converted to four-wheel drive. I'm the second owner. I bought it from a dealer secondhand with about 45,000 miles on it, and I've put about 2,000 miles on it myself. And I'm going to give you a tour, so let's go. Stepping in, this is kind of like my front porch. I can put my shoes here, spatula and my carbon steel pan hanging right here on a carabiner. And then this is a fully swivelable chair. And while I'm parked, I have the table set up. Okay, we got the sink. And then I have this side table that I can put up for some extra counter space. And then I have this stove, and I have another one of these. And I can also move it over to this side if I need a little bit more room cooking or if I want to use both of them. And then this runs on propane. I do all of my cooking on propane. And then I have a few windows in here, and a couple of them open and they have screens. And I got the fridge right here. And it's lined in Reflectix pretty much everywhere, and this saves me a lot of energy even though it isn't very pretty. And this is the freezer section right here, which has even more Reflectix. And this is my workstation. I have my laptop right here, and then my keyboard and mouse tray is right under there. It's being held with a clothespin just because we're on a slant right now and it would come out if I didn't have that, but usually it just stays in if you're on flat ground. But I'll go ahead and pull this out. And this is a really nice workstation. Wherever I'm at, I can have a nice view out, and I can stand so it doesn't hurt my back as much. And then when I get tired, I can just take my laptop and move to the alternate seating location, which is right there. And for this keyboard tray, highly recommend it if you have the space in your van. I just got the hardware on Amazon. It was really cheap. And then I used my own piece of wood that fit this space. And down below the table, you can see the four-wheel drive lever. It has four-wheel high and four-wheel low. And I took the doghouse thingy off and I put my own cup holders on, and that makes it much easier to get to and from the back. This is a microwave convection oven combo, so I can basically air fry things in here or just use it as an oven if I want to. And I can run this off the battery, but I usually only run this when the generator is on or if I'm plugged into shore power. And then I have more storage up there. Air conditioner controls. And these buttons latch and also pop out, which is nice. And this mirror. This cabinet here is just all storage. It's all messy. And I have clothing stored up here. And then I have the fuse panel that came with the RV right here. And then here I can individually turn off the water heater if I don't need that running or I don't need that warming up while I'm running the generator. And then this is a natural gas detector. So this was all built by Sportsmobile in about 2012 or 2013. And this was all made custom to order by the previous owner. And I think she did a really good job, or he. And we have movable lights here, and then also these sort of dome lights, and then more storage along the top. And I have my security camera, which I'm going to go over in a different video, my whole security system. And I have two different fantastic vents. And more storage up here. It's super messy. And there are some outlets everywhere in the RV. And you can use these when the generator is on or when you're plugged into house power. And this is the control for the generator. And this is a 12-volt TV. And there's also an antenna so you can get channels. Again, this was requested by the previous owner, and it's kind of obsolete now, but it is cool. And I do have a laptop that had a broken screen, so I connected my laptop to the TV, so I have a monitor for it. And this TV, like I said, it's 12 volt, so it connects with the cigarette lighter plug right there. More cigarette lighter plugs there. And then I have the control for my inverter right here. I could build it into the wall, but it works fine there, so I just left it there. And then I have this little cubby for storage. And all of the windows have a shade on them, so you can, and it's a two-way shade, so you can pull it down one way and then that lets some light through and air through, or you can pull it down the other way and you get full privacy. And then here in the corner, this is where my pillow and my head usually goes. This is the controller for the diesel heater, which I'll show in a second once I get to the back of the van. So whenever I wake up, I turn that on, or if I'm in a really cold environment, then maybe it'll be on all the time. And this is a queen bed that I cut down to fit over the counter and to fit around the TV. And I also cut out a little indentation so I can sit there, and also so my dog can jump off without hurting himself jumping all the way to the floor. And this is a very thick mattress for this RV. I think it's a 12-inch. I should have gotten like an 8-inch or a 10-inch, but this just happened to be on mega clearance, so this is what I got. And when I sleep in this, I sleep with my head over there and my feet here, and it fits me. I'm 6 foot, no problem. So I do have window coverings for the front cabin area, but I also have this curtain that just snaps into these little parts. And so I like to just use this a lot of nights unless it's really cold. And this allows me to insulate and get some privacy without having to put up all 3 of my window coverings every time. Okay, now taking a look at the bathroom. I have a whole bunch of storage. This is a shoe holder, but shoes would be too heavy for this door, so I just keep lightweight and kind of awkwardly shaped things. I have the toilet in the bathroom. That's a flushing toilet, so it is a wet bath. There is both hot and cold water, and I have to run the generator for about 15 minutes or plug it in for about 15 minutes into shore power to get hot water. I can also plug in my water heater to my battery system, but I don't really foresee myself doing that very often. There's both a gray tank for the shower water and a black tank for the toilet. And there's also a separate gray water tank for the sink. So 2 gray water tanks and 1 black tank. And then I have a window here with the 2-way shade. And this is a screened window, so you can have a view. And there is a mirror in here, and a medicine cabinet behind that. And under the sink is where the water heater is. I have some storage down here too. So it's a 2.5 gallon electric water heater. It's a Rheem brand, and I put some just extra Reflectix that I have around it. It works really well. It's kind of amazing having hot water, and if I run the generator for anything, then I usually just heat up the water just so I have some. So it's easy to always have at least warm water coming out of the sink if I just run the generator every once in a while. I can run this on the battery, but unless I'm driving a lot or running the generator a lot to charge my battery, then there's really not a huge point. I might as well only heat the water with when the generator is running or when I'm connected to shore power. And the water tank is on this side. And this is a 20 gallon or a 25. And I drink out of it when necessary. And then you can just see some of the piping that was put in by the Sportsmobile factory. And then there's the 12 volt pump right there, so easy to replace if it ever goes out. Oh, and then this part's really cool. If I unscrew this, then I can refill it from the inside. So if I have a bucket of water or just any sort of water in here, then I can just pour it directly through there to fill up my tank, as opposed to filling it up from the outside. So it's good for stealth, and it's also good if you're at like a river and you need to bring water back to the rig to put it in the tank. And up here we have a whole bunch of storage. It's just jammed full of clothes, and it goes way far back, so it's just full of stuff. But this is the crank to get the antenna up. So if I want to raise the TV antenna, then I can just crank that. But with how good internet's gotten and how good cell signal has gotten, it's kind of obsolete tech, and I don't think I'm going to be watching that much TV and tuning for new channels, and every time you go to a new city you have to scan for new channels, so it's not really worth it in this day and age. This is the city water connection for filling up the tank, and this is the exhaust pipe for the diesel heater. Underneath we have an auxiliary fuel tank. This isn't hooked up to the main fuel tank. It just holds a few extra gallons, and then I can just detach that. It's just for emergencies. And then this is the generator. And this is really useful if I need to get a lot of electricity at once for microwaving or heating up my water heater. And whenever I run it, it also charges my battery. It's just a huge supplement, and since I only have 200 watts of solar, it's really helpful. Continuing with the outside, this is a light, and this is just a power outlet that only works when you're plugged into shore power or when the generator is running. This is the outdoor shower. It does have a hot and a cold tap, and it's really convenient, not only for showering but also washing my dog and washing dishes outside sometimes. Okay, so here we are at the back. This is a spare tire. It's not full size, but it'll do in a pinch. Then I have my diesel heater tank right here, and I like having it outside, so if there's ever any spills or leaks or venting, it's not causing any issues inside my rig. And it's worked pretty well just wedged in between my tire and my door, even though it is a little bit funny looking. And then I have my bike rack with as many parts stripped off my bike as possible, especially the heavy parts, and I keep those inside. So the bike seat, the front wheel, and the battery I keep inside, and that makes it so there's a lot less weight on the bike rack here, and people are less likely to steal it if there's all these parts missing from it. And I made this bike rack just out of parts that were laying around my parents' house. It's made with some garage bike racks and some pieces of wood that I found, and then I used some U-clips that I found on Amazon to secure them to the RV ladder that was already on the door. And then I put these two wheels that just came off some random piece of furniture that we were getting rid of, and these wheels rest on the bumper when the door is closed, which makes it so the weight of the bike doesn't cause any issues with the ladder. When the door is closed, all of the weight is resting on the bumper itself. And then the only time when the weight is on the ladder is when the door is open. But then when I close the door, the wheels engage with the bumper, and this way it doesn't cause any strain on the ladder. And if anything were to break off, I do have the bike chained to the ladder, so if it does fall off, it's not going to go flying off the van. So right here is where I have my Starlink mounted, and this is an older model of Starlink, so the newer ones mount a lot better. And I can even extend this pole up about 10 feet if I want to get through obstructions. And here is my cell phone booster. It's not a Wii Boost, it's a cheaper version. I think I'm going to do a video on it later, but I'll have a link for it in the description. It's been working decently well so far. And if I do want to get on the roof to fix something or to clean, then I can take the bike off and then climb up there. I only have 200 watts of solar on the roof, but I have the generator and my alternator charges the batteries. So 200 watts really is enough since I have all those redundancies and backups. With those 200 watts of solar panels, I have them running through the door like this. Don't be like me. I do plan on running it through the roof, through a gland, or finding an existing hole. But this does work in a pinch. The only issue I've found, besides it being so unsightly, is that during rainstorms, the moisture and water can run down this cable and get into the van. So you want to make sure you have a rag or something there, and it's not getting the inside of your van wet. Or just angle it in a way where it's not going to drip all the water into the van. So since there's some slack on these cables here, the water just drips down instead of going into the van. So looking at the back, we can see a lot of the upgrades that I did to the battery system. I did take a lot of my stuff out. Usually this is just packed full of my stuff. So I have 600 amp hours of battery here. You can see 3 batteries that I added right here and 1 battery that I added right here. And then there are 2 batteries that are in these sunken compartments right here that I replaced. They were previously AGM or sealed lead acid batteries, but I easily just switched them to LiFePO 4. It was just a plug and play type thing, super easy, and it made a world of a difference with the battery power. And looking at the other side here, I have the MPPT solar controller, and this converts the solar energy from my panels into battery power. And I made these tops with my expert craftsmanship, as you can see, and that makes it so I can store things on top of the batteries and I don't have to worry about anything hitting the terminals. But if I take them off, then you can see the terminals there, and then I have my diesel heater wired directly into the battery. I know it should be fused or in some sort of other configuration, but hey, it works. And there is my 2 kilowatt diesel heater back there. So this is my diesel heater, which I definitely recommend. It's a 2 kilowatt, so it's the lowest power unit, which means it uses the least amount of gasoline, diesel, while it's running. And it has 2 modes, a high mode and a low mode. And the low mode uses the smallest amount of fuel. And the 5 kilowatt or the 8 kilowatt and all the other versions, their lowest mode is higher than this one's lowest mode. So this one has the potential to be the most gas efficient, I believe. And so on this side, we can see, we can take this panel off and kind of see all the Frankenstein wiring under here. All of them are connected in parallel. So it's a 12-volt system, and the inverter is hooked directly into the batteries. I hooked the inverter in with very heavy gauge cables and into multiple batteries, so the load is more evenly distributed. So with the batteries pulled aside, we can see the 2000 watt Renogy inverter, and I know it's really jerry-rigged, but hey, it's worked for like 2 years now. And that's where I have my coffee maker plugged into, the Starlink, and everything else that requires a household electric plug, my laptop, all of that. And I'll give you another view from the front. And this can run anything in the RV, but it can't run two high draw appliances at the same time. And over here we have the closet. I have my shirts hung in here. A lot of stuff hung up, too many clothes. And then a lot of the electrical is below this panel. This is a battery shut-off switch. And if you peek inside here, this is what the Sportsmobile factory installed, except for this. I had to replace the converter charger because it failed. This is just a 55 amp converter charger that I got on Amazon. That converts the generator power or shore power into battery power, into 12 volt. And previously that was nailed into the wall there, but I just have it resting with this new box. It doesn't really fit on the wall too well. This thing right here is the battery isolator, and this is old technology. The newer tech is the DC to DC charger, so I'm not going to go too much into this because you just want to get a DC to DC charger these days. But that converts my alternator power from when the car is on to charging my batteries, so my batteries can be charged when the car is on. And there's a whole bunch of cabling that runs to all the electrical in the van. And then under this converter charger, there is automatic transfer station relay 5100 series. I have no idea what that is. Try to be careful here so I don't cause a spark. And this doesn't really move around too much, so it's good where it's at. And then you can see some things are going into the electrical system, and then there's a neutral ground right there. But I don't know electrical, and this is why I bought it already converted for the most part, and then did my own upgrades. So looking at the underside of the bed from the other side, I have my robot vacuum here, which is super nice to pick up dust under all these cracks and crevices. So I don't have to bend down in this narrow alleyway here. And then I have the diesel heater. You can see it from this side, and I have the hose angled over here. And then I can point it towards the ground if I want to warm my feet up or warm the cabin up more. And then on this side I have my espresso machine. Okay, so I'm loading some of the stuff back into my van. And this is a food delivery bag. It's a really big one. It can hold like a giant pizza. And I used to use it for food delivery, and now I use it for storage. But if I ever have to turn the van in for repairs or something like that, then I can use this to store all my things. And it has backpack handles on it on the back here. If I just take the this reflector thing off, so I can carry it on myself with all my things in it, and I just look like a delivery person. And then I can wear this while I'm biking or on my skateboard, so it just makes it really handy. So there's about a 3-inch lift on this RV. I did put these steps in, and it has these two storage areas. I do have this awning. It's not out right now, but it's great for rainy days. You can have an area where your stuff is kept dry, or on really sunny days, you can block the sun from hitting your rig, and you can keep a lot cooler. So this is what it looks like underneath, and it does have the 4-wheel drive, and it also has a lift on it. The conversion was done by Timberline, and I was not the person that did it. And I'm not really a suspension guy, so I don't really know a lot about the parts that were put in. And then we have these coils and Bilsteins in the front. And we got these beefy leaf springs in the back here. And I think all those are stock with the E350, but not completely sure. So the 4-wheel drive on this rig is really nice, and I've used it a few times and gotten through some pretty sticky situations. And this is the 5.4 liter V8 version. naturally aspirated, so there's no turbos in there. So it's really easy to work on. There's a lot of room. And I can take off the bay inside to access the engine from the inside. So it's pretty easy to do work on this engine, and they're very reliable. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and all of the products that you see will be in the description below if you want to check them out. And be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.